Hey guys, we're going to do something fun and a little different today. In honor of our 4-year anniversary of SmartHER News on February 19th, I asked you what questions you'd like us to answer, and you sent in some amazing questions. So I wrote down several of them. Some of them were really hard, by the way. Very hard. I wrote them down, very old-fashioned. Put them on index cards. I'm going to shuffle them right here, and I'm just going to go through them and answer them. I'm not going to edit this because your first answer is usually your best. And sometimes I get a little emotional about SmartHER News. It's easier for me to report on really difficult topics like Russia and Iran and the economy. You know, talking about yourself is hard. So I needed these prompts. So thank you. So, let's get ready. This is serious. You see how I feel a little stressed. You start tightening your ponytail. It's because it's the real deal. All right. Knowing what you know now, what do you wish you knew 4 years ago? I think I wish I knew just how hard it would be. I didn't grow up thinking, wow, I can't wait to be an entrepreneur. I grew up thinking, I really would love to be a writer. I'd really love to be a journalist. So this whole adventure in entrepreneurship was really unexpected. And I really had to learn everything from the bottom up. Audrey, how long does it take to get a business going? I'll let you know. 4 years. 4 years and more. Deb, how did you decide when it's right time to report on a story? That's a great question. There is an instinct to journalism. There are a lot of stories that we will let bake, if you will, for longer than other news outlets. And that's usually because there's something inside of me that makes me wonder, do we really have enough to report on this yet? And oftentimes there's a flurry of activity and a rush to breaking news. We're never going to do breaking news like the big news organizations. We're never going to have those. I actually don't even think that's what you need. I think you need to be able to come to a place where you can get quick, concise, nonpartisan information. And when the dust settles, to say, okay, this is what happened and this is why it matters. So yes, we have to be a little bit slower to the news. And I do really rely on a gut check. I'm new here. Is this your profession? Yes. I know sometimes it doesn't look like it, but yes, I'm a journalist. I've been a journalist for nearly 20 years now, and I've worked in a couple different capacities. I've worked as a print reporter. I've worked as a writer. I've worked as a producer in a few different respects, and I also was a national news anchor at one time. Mary, what prompted you to start SmartHER News? A lot of things led to the start of SmartHER News. One of the big questions that I wanted to answer for people is, as a news anchor, I often got the question, where do you go to get the news? And I thought that was really interesting that people would ask me that. But the reality is that people don't know where to get the news because the news feels very partisan. And so I thought, well, how do we build a solution to a problem? People feel that the news is too partisan. They feel like they can't see the news clearly. It's actually a stressor in their life. It makes them more aggravated. It makes them more angry rather than actually making them feel more in control of information. So how do we make the news work for people again? And instead of just saying, how do we make it work for everybody? I thought, well, I'm going to focus on the American woman because those are my peers. Now, I didn't develop SmartHER News so that it would be a girls only club, right? I don't pick news only geared to women. I just thought I'm going to try to figure out a format that's going to really work for an American woman who's really multitasking at a really high level. And if I can get it to work for her, then it's going to work for men as well, because we consume information differently. This is my thought on it. We do consume information differently. Our lives look very different. So how do I make it work for my peers? And let's also say this, the American woman is the number one consumer in her household for the number one economy in the entire world. She's also the majority voting bloc in America. She's really an important segment of society. And instead of helping her access the news in a more easy, fluid way with her life, we tend to just pile things on for women. Like, how much more can they handle? How much more can they do? And I get this image of someone trying to juggle, because that's how I feel a lot. And I don't want people to feel like they can't access the news easily. I thought, how can I make news smarter for my peers? And that's how SmartHER News came about. I thought, if I can give high quality information in really small bites, like appetizers, because when I go out with my friends, we eat appetizers, and when men go out, they eat steaks. So how do I do it like it's the best tapas restaurant you've ever been at? You get really good, high quality information in small bites. If you do that regularly, let's just say a couple times a week, you don't have to see me every single day, but let's say you do it regularly over the course of a month or a year, you're that much more equipped with information. And you feel like there's a trusted source that you can come to when there's a really serious story, like a pandemic or an election. And that's what I hope that we've created. Chelsea's asking this question. What's a big, scary goal that you have for SmartHER News? I have a lot of dreams for SmartHER News, and they all seem really big. One of the things I'd really love is I'd love us to get to the point where we're enough of a juggernaut, and that would be purely based on the audience, the audience size and how engaged you guys are, that presidential candidates want to sit down with us. And I think they should already want to do that, but I really want to see that for you. I really want to be able to speak to those who we're trusting our children with. And I think that would be really, that's a good, scary goal for SmartHER News, high stakes, speaking to presidential candidates. I think we should be involved in presidential debates. Why not? Amy's asking, what's your ultimate dream for SmartHER News? Ultimately, it's a destination for quick, concise, nonpartisan information. But I'd like to see SmartHER News be able to almost break out into franchises. So SmartHER News becomes SmartHER Health and SmartHER Beauty and SmartHER Money. So you have these different topics that you're able to dip into when you'd like a little bit more. If you have an interest, per se, on any of those, then you'd be able to get the same sort of high quality information in small doses in those different topic segments. But I'd also like to see it regional. I don't think there's anything keeping SmartHER News from being SmartHER Italy, SmartHER Mexico, SmartHER Brazil, SmartHER New Zealand. I see you, New Zealand. Thanks for joining us. I also don't see a limitation for SmartHER News being SmartHER Texas, SmartHER Austin, SmartHER California. I mean, that's a really, really big dream, but I don't think there's really that much keeping us. And I think once we get over this kind of hump of being in this startup period, which we still very much are in, I mean, really the sky is the limit for that. This question is a good one. What pushed you to leave what most people would consider a dream job and launch on your own? How scary was it? Ultimately, what pushed me to leave is integrity. You know, I knew that I couldn't stay in my current position in the current way that it was, and that I wouldn't be staying true to myself if I did it, and that I wouldn't be able to live with that decision. So that was a super scary decision because I had worked so much, you know, to be able to even have the opportunity to anchor a national news show. And it was so exciting. I mean, I got to do live interviews every day. I had this amazing crew that I got to work with all the time. And I felt that it was important, you know, that I was actually helping people, especially when breaking news would happen, that we could be there for people during really rough headlines. There was a certain point where I didn't feel that I was living out what I was supposed to be doing, though. And that was very difficult when your goal starts to conflict with what you think your life purpose is. I think my life purpose is to serve. I feel called to try to fix this problem and the problem that we're seeing in news. I have a unique set of experience to try to do that because you don't see people leaving the inside and then going on the outside and trying to fix the problems that we see. And ultimately, it was also the audience. You know, I in wanting to live to serve, ultimately your audience is your priority. And our audience at the time that I was working really were feeling that they weren't being taken care of. You know, and I didn't want them to feel that way. I wanted to figure out a way to better serve people. Ultimately, when it came to the decision of actually saying, no, I'm not going to re-sign this contract and I'm actually going to walk away, I was very clear-headed about that. I'm still never have thought, no matter how very, very difficult these last couple of years have been for a number of different reasons I could have never expected, I've never questioned that decision. I always think God knows I'm a journalist and he needs like triple source things. Because I'm like, let me just get another source on that topic just to make sure that that's accurate. At that point, though, it was very clear that that was the right decision. And so sometimes you really do have to do what's scary. And ultimately, I did stay true to myself in that moment. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that, as well as being very honest with you that what came after that has been some of the hardest moments in my entire life. You know, I really felt alone, and I've repeatedly felt that way. Yeah, it's been really difficult, really difficult. Let's see. This is a great question. How do you manage kids in the news? Not well. Do you write at night or early in the mornings? The truth is that I do write at night. I tend to get up early in the morning. I try to be out of bed by 5. And if I can work for 2 hours before the kids wake up, that's usually a really good thing. So I kind of get an idea of what's going on for the day. And then after the kids get to school, or I spend some time, my littlest one, of course, is not in school. I kind of figure out how to get a few of our freelancers going so that they can help fill in some of the projects that I've started. And then, I kind of work throughout the day, and then I kind of work at night too. So there's no real set hours. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What is saving your life? What's saving my life in a lot of ways is you. I mean, some of the messages that I get from you are exactly why I started SmartHER News. And it's always when I'm feeling the most lost that you tend to send me the messages that I need to hear. That this has helped you during a very difficult time, or that you feel more calm about current events, or you feel just better, like you found something that's helping you with your life. And that purpose gets me out of bed. One of the things that never worked for me in television news is that I never got out of bed to see myself on TV. And I think ultimately, to be very successful on television, you need to want that all the time. And really the first year or so of SmartHER News, I didn't do hardly anything on camera like I'm doing now. And I should have, because really to build the company, you needed to know who was behind it. But I think I just needed a little bit of a break, and also to revisit why I'm a journalist, which is really about the information, really about the reporting, and really about the audience, and less about, seeing myself on camera. Although if you saw my camera roll on my phone, all the different selfies I have saved at this point because of our videos, it's really embarrassing. Jess, how do you handle a nonpartisan viewpoint while engaging with others? The reality is I'm way more interested in what other people think than what I think. And oftentimes I don't really know what I think about a topic. I actually just want more information. So most of the time that's my normal stance in everyday life. And so as a journalist as well, that's just where my mind goes. It's like muscle memory. Okay, what did one person say? What is this other person saying? And when it's a highly emotional topic, that can be very difficult. But that's why we come up with this saying, curiosity over commentary. If you lead with curiosity, like, I didn't know that. Tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? What do you think about this? Rather than, that's wrong, or, well, this is what I think. A lot of your conversations go a lot differently. So I just try to remain curious best that I can. Anna, you were also asking about this. How do you stay nonpartisan? There's this kind of movement in the media where, and you hear like, no one's nonpartisan. I'm like, what? No, like being nonpartisan is a discipline. It's something that you have to practice. It's not something that you just like wake up and you're just naturally nonpartisan. Like, no, it's like learning to run a marathon, or it's about learning how to cook. Like you have to practice it and you have to make mistakes. And I think also with nonpartisanship, even with stories that we cover, I'll get a story to a certain point and then I'll say, you know what, we got to include this other side. It's a constant practice. I definitely believe nonpartisanship can be a goal. And I think it should be the goal for everybody in journalism. And there should be no cop out on that. Opinion journalism is an excuse for a lack of discipline. It's actually harder right now. I mean, given the internet and social media, it is so much harder to eliminate another person's point of view, because if you want 25,000 points of view on a topic, you just have to like click a button. It's not that hard. I mean, it's so much easier now than when I started way back in the dark ages, to find somebody else's opinion. You could get lawmakers, world leaders, everyone's on social media. I mean, you can actually show different sides of a story so easily. To not do that is, to me, criminal. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Sorry. That's all right. This is a great question from Robin. What's been the most unexpected hurdle and what did you learn from it? I think the most unexpected hurdle, every part of running a business is difficult. And I don't think I really had an appreciation for that at all. I think in this sort of, very motivational time where everyone's like, hustle, 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 go. You got all these hashtags of like, girl boss, stuff. I think that kind of misleads how difficult it is to run your own business. And I have a whole new appreciation for small business owners and, quite frankly, anyone that's running a business, because it's a very difficult thing to do consistently and to do well. So I hope I'm becoming a better business person. and I'll keep you posted on that. Final question here by Hadley, Lauren, Janet, Denise, Annie, Morgan, JD. This really speaks to who you are, because this is your number one question, which is how can you support SmartHER News and how do we make money? And so, I'll just tell you guys the truth. Over the last 4 years, I haven't paid myself in 4 years. I've saved money ever since I was 13, 14 years old. I had a savings account, and I used my savings account to build SmartHER News. I think I always thought, oh, well, it's be for a rainy day, it'll be for a home or a car or a vacation, something. And I actually used it to build the business. And that's why this is going to be the year that we're really going to need to change the model in order to be sustainable. The first thing I had to do is prove that you existed. Most people said nonpartisan news could not exist. And I said, no, actually the really powerful audience is there, and we actually need to just serve them. And so that's what I've been focused on. If we can serve you well, then really the power of the company will always come from the audience. It's always from the people. It's never from outside investors, for example. Like, outside investors are great, but that means I have to talk to them. I actually just want to talk to you. I want to talk to you, and I want to figure this out together. So a couple of things that you can do right away, though. We have something called the 219 Club, but you'll see it as a button, and it's just support, become a contributor to SmartHER News. You can use this anytime, any place, anywhere. And it's just a little way to contribute, to think of yourself as an investor to SmartHER News. Think of it as buying us a cup of coffee, sending us a tip, sort of like a tip in a restaurant or at a coffee shop. If you appreciate the service, you can contribute, and you can actually help us build SmartHER News. Let's say half the people on our Instagram account decided to contribute the price of a latte to us this anniversary weekend. We would be able to support SmartHER News for the next year. I'm running a very lean operation right now. So that's something you could do right away today, whenever you want. It's available on our website. It's available just in our link in bio, and we'll put it out there so it's really easy for you to do. But think about yourself as a contributor to this. This whole business, this whole dream is built for you. I want it to work for you. I really welcome and listen to your feedback. And being a contributor will actually help us expand in a way that can be really beneficial to hopefully all of us, so that we make SmartHER News a thriving, growing, competitive business, and that you actually get a news source that you feel good about. And so that's something that you can do today if you feel like it. And it would mean so much to me and means so much to our entire team. In the next couple weeks and months, you're going to see some changes. We're going to have a new retail shop. I can't wait to see some of the stuff that we're working on. That's going to be really cool. And I love that you guys like to represent SmartHER News. Think about that. How many news agencies are able to have people buy gear? You don't see people walking around with like ABC or NBC hats. We want to actually know that you feel proud of us, that you want to buy our gear is huge. Like, that's amazing. And we really appreciate that. So if contributing this weekend isn't something that you're in a position to do, just know that there's other things coming as well. And that's totally fine. It has to work for you. You're the customer. You're the audience. It has to work for you. So you have the 219 Club, you have the retail shop that's going to be launching. We're going to have some also sort of like insider opportunities for you that will have some particular content for you in the future. That should be really fun to do, maybe some special events. And we'll also do some partnerships. This will be kind of a modern take of ads. As you notice on SmartHER News, I don't run any ads on our website, and I'm very particular about partnerships. And this is because I want you to know how dedicated I am to nonpartisanship, that the focus is on you, and I'm not just going to throw in a bunch of random ads and clutter your space. This has to be about decluttering the news. I think we're at a point now as a company that we can start taking on more partnerships. And I look forward to doing that, because it's not about just SmartHER News. It's also about living smarter overall. So that should be really fun. So, all right, I didn't get to the office tour that was requested, but I'd love to do that in the future, because all of this stuff behind me actually does have a meaning. And there's some other things on the other wall that I'd like to show you as well. But thank you for being here. Thank you for making this dream a reality. I'm so grateful, and I'm really proud of what we're building together. I'm really proud of it. So thank you for all your support, and happy anniversary.